You know, I still remember it. A big, bright letter D, as in devastating, disaster, destruction, at the top of my paper as my professor in my freshman year course handed me my midterm back. D, I don't get D's. My heart just dropped into my stomach. You know that feeling where you thought you were on fire and then you realized you set the house on fire? That was the moment. See, I was a straight A academic student. To get a D was very scary. But it was even more intense because it was in my public speaking class. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, Sean, you were probably only a freshman in college, so that's when you got your start in speaking. No. Actually, at that time, I was making between $1,000 to $2,500 a speech, traveling around the country while still attending college. And my professor in public speaking barely spoke English. I kind of felt like Rodney Dangerfield in that movie Back to School when he was getting into lectures about business, about what it really is like versus the theory. Well, tonight we're going to talk about reality, practical solutions to rocking on stage and charging big bucks doing so. Because I'm not going to teach you the traditional stuff. Go to a four-year university if you want to learn that. Go pull up a book on how to be a public speaker. I'm going to teach you what it takes to really climb the ladder and really be impressive, whether you're speaking a group of 5 people or 5,000. So why are you here? Well, motivation is so very important. I've been called motivational my whole life, to the point where I actually don't like the word most days. But motivation is imperative. We need to know the why behind doing something. And so, why are you here? Well, I believe you're here because you may want to conquer your fears and anxieties around getting in front of a group and speaking. You may be here because you want to dazzle a crowd. You want to know what it takes to get up on stage and emote and share your feelings and your thoughts and your expertise and just get incredible, raving standing ovation. You may be here because you want to get paid really good money for an hour presentation. And if you came here for one of those three reasons, or the bonus reason, which is you want to be in my exclusive 10-person apprenticeship program, then you're in the right place, and welcome. In my 17 years of speaking, I've faced a lot of tough times on stage. You know, I look back on it and it's quite comical, some of the things that I went through. I once was hired to speak at a carnival. A carnival. You know, where like they sell like hot dogs on a stick and you're going on roller coasters. They made all the students leave the carnival, come into the classroom on a Saturday afternoon, and I was their 1 hour speaker. So that then afterwards they could go back outside and play on the rides. The guy, God bless him, the guy who hired me, he came in soaked head to toe with water. He had just gotten out of the dunk tank. And he said, Sean, go make him cry. Right in front of the whole crowd. Oh, man. I don't have to relive that one. I've also gone through scary moments on stage. Like the day I was in Tennessee and I was in a giant auditorium and there was a huge cargo door open and a lightning bolt came down from the sky and crashed about 20 feet to my right on stage. Scared the ever living out of me. Yeah, I also was speaking one time, and I was at the edge of the stage telling a really emotional story when all of a sudden I heard something that sounded like a piano being moved. And then I realized we were in the middle of an earthquake. My dad jumped up out of the audience and said, Sean, move back, move back. Yep, speaking has practically killed me. One time I had dogs get let loose in the auditorium of 50, what was it, 5,000 people. These dogs were running around. They were emotional support dogs. They were not really emotionally supportive. Then, probably my favorite was a time I was hired to speak to a school where half of the audience in the middle of my presentation stood up and walked out. All of them. In the middle of my presentation, I was halfway through. And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, a new group of people came in and sat down. And I thought, do I start over? Do I keep going? Am I dreaming? Yeah, well, they scheduled my speech in between passing periods. I've been a speaker on Hot Dog Day and been put in the cafeteria. I've been at corporations where they were just laying off a bunch of people, but they hadn't left the room yet, and they had to listen to a speaker talk to them. I even had a speech once where no one showed up, not even the guy who hired me. So I feel absolutely qualified and credible telling you how to be phenomenal at speaking because I've gone through some of the most incredibly interesting scenarios. My fee started at 0. Well, actually, it had moments of 0, but the first fee was $75. I remember I was in a junior in high school and I thought I was the richest man alive. That bought me like 3 Sega Genesis games. And for my friends out there that play video games, that was awesome back in the 90s. Anyway, so I had the $75 check. I went up on stage and I spoke for, I think it was about a half hour to a group of high school students while I was in high school about what it's like to have a disability. And I was making the audience laugh and I made them cry. And I remember thinking, that was pretty awesome. And then another school called, and then a hospital called, then an association called. Everybody wanted to know how to get this little guy in a wheelchair to speak to their group. And that was the beginning of my speaking career. Fast forward 17 years to this very day, I now am fortunate enough to be able to travel the world and stay in some of the nicest resorts on the planet and get paid 10, 15, 20, $30,000 a presentation. And I'm going to tell you how I did that. I'm going to tell you in this program some of the elements to how I conquered my fear. I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that I've done to really dazzle a crowd, mechanics of speaking. And then I'm going to talk to you about the business of speaking. What did I do to position myself in marketing to make the most amount of money? And lastly, we're going to talk about my apprenticeship program. See, I only have 10 spots available at the end of this program. I'm going to take a group of people and I'm going to share with them a journey, a 90-day journey where, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. More on that in a moment. So let's begin. Let's talk about fear. Let's talk about fear of public speaking, fear of addressing a crowd. It could be getting up to talk to 5 people in a small room or walking on stage with blinding lights in your eyes and just a sea of people all around you. And you can hear a pin drop when you come out and your heart is racing and you're thinking, how am I going to do this? Yeah, that feeling that comes up just thinking about it, you could think that that's fear, but in a moment, I'm going to tell you what it really is. See, rarely is speaking something that we're afraid of. We're not afraid to speak. We speak to each other all the time. We are public speaking pretty much from the moment we get up until the moment we go to bed. We public school, when we're in public school and we're being educated, we have to talk to each other, or private school for some of you. And, you know, if you're at companies, you have to speak together. What I really think this is it's not a fear of speaking. It's a fear of looking bad. It's a fear of messing up. It's a fear of being judged. What I want to know is, when does something become public? When is something public speaking versus just speaking? Well, it's different for different people. For me, Public speaking doesn't happen until there's about 20,000 people in the room. For you, it may be 10. For some people, it could be 20, 30, 50, 100, 1,000. It's different for all of us. And so, what I want to help you do is realize that you're not afraid of speaking. In fact, it's not even fear that's welling up inside of you, it's excitement. I mean, think about it for a moment. When you are getting on a roller coaster, and let's say you like roller coasters, or you're going on a first date with somebody that you're attracted to, and you really want to be on that date, or you're applying for a job that you've always wanted to have, you really want to get the job. Is it fear? Or is it the body's way of telling you that you need to take it seriously and it's trying to get all of your mind power behind paying attention to what you're feeling? I believe that it's really just excitement because the body can't really tell the difference between excitement and fear. It's the same physiological response. So next time you get up to present and you get those feelings, you're like, oh, this is awesome. I'm excited. Now I know what you're thinking. You might be thinking, Sean, that's a bunch of crap. No, it's not. It's fear. Okay, keep telling yourself that. But how's that working for you? For me, I get excited. I got excited getting onto this program. Now I could have said, oh, I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I've never done really a webinar. Or I could say, heck yeah, this is going down. Like, we're going to have some fun here. People around the world are going to come together and learn how to be better presenters and make money in the process. That's the good part. That's when it goes from fear to excitement. So let's talk about this being judged, looking bad, ending up looking silly and goofy and stupid. Look, what other people think of you is none of your business. Because what you may not know is it's not even about you. What other people think of you is about them. This is why when people meet me, and if they don't want to look me in the eye because, oh, he's little and he's in a wheelchair and oh, I don't know how I feel about that. Do you think I take that personally anymore? No. Why? Because I know that's about that goober. I know that truthfully, I am a solid, comfortable human being in my own skin, and they're just reflecting that they're not yet. Hopefully someday. So I want you to stop worrying about what other people think of you and start putting your emphasis on what do you think of yourself? Because that's what matters most. Now let's continue with something that I do to really help people get out of their fear and anxiety and concerns of getting in front of a group. Well, when you're really scared and you're thinking, oh, what if I do bad? And you say that you have a fear of public speaking, I'm going to tell you what that really is. That's narcissism. And you're thinking, no, I'm not a narcissist. Listen, I'm not calling you a narcissist. I'm saying that worrying about, oh my goodness, what do people think of me is a form of narcissism. If you just hear me out, and you stop fixating on what am I going to say? What if I don't make them laugh? What if I'm not a big hit? Because what are you saying there? I. You're focused on all about you. And that doesn't help anyone. That makes you all tense and nervous, and it certainly doesn't help you get into a flow state. See, when we fixate on ourselves, we never shine. Never. Only when we step out of our eyes, our concerns about it's all about me, that little bubble of, oh, the world surrounds me. No, it doesn't. It doesn't surround any of us. It surrounds all of us, exclusively, all of us are part of that. See, when you step into a new zone of what value can I deliver on stage, that's when you begin to excel in life and on stage. What value can I deliver? An epic speaker takes themselves out of the equation. They don't have time to worry about what people think of them because they know they have a responsibility to deliver the most amount of value possible in the time period they've been given. It's as if they're able to leave their body behind and just enjoy the experience as if they are observing themselves. Some of my best speeches, if you ask me, Sean, what were some of your greatest speeches? It's not when I said the funniest things. It's not when I came up with the most poignant wisdom. It's when I stopped worrying about me and I started thinking about the audience. And I just let go of how it all turns out for Sean and start really putting my attention on how it's going to turn out for the audience. I'm going to share with you some personal stuff in this program, and I really do hope that you realize that this isn't something corny that I just say I do but don't really do. And truthfully, it's what I do. It's what I've done for 17 years. When people see me on stage or they YouTube me and see me working a crowd and having a blast with a huge standing ovation at the end, it's not an accident. It's planned, and it's got a lot of moving parts to it that are behind the scenes. I'm not able to share with you everything tonight because this is a quick call, but I'm going to share with you the best stuff that I got for right now. Here's what I do. When I'm getting ready for a talk, whether it's an hour before and I'm in my room in my hotel, or I'm behind stage, or I'm maybe taking a shower in a car being driven to the auditorium, I visualize the individual people who will be looking at me from the audience. I do. I see them in their personal life with all their struggles, difficulties, setbacks. I I see them going through their challenges, and I see that the material that I have to share with them loosening that grip of suffering and strife that they're dealing with. And I'm sending them, I visualize sending them this stream of energy from my heart. For you New Age people, the chakra, right? Or people that really study the masters of ancient times as well, the heart chakra. I just visualize all that energy coming out of my heart and going into theirs. And I just beam them an incredible amount of love. And lastly, what I do in this activity is I give myself on stage in the future, maybe 15 minutes, an hour from the time that I go on, I visualize myself sending love and energy to that guy. And then if he stumbles on a word or maybe there's a technical difficulty with the microphone, or no matter what happens to him, I just see him rolling with the punches. And I'm proud of him. And I'm loving him as much as I'm loving the audience. Now, I know that sounds weird, but here's what it does. It sets me up to win. It sets me up to win because I'm creating a space before I ever come out onto a presentation platform to win. And I like to win games. If I'm not going to win a game, then what am I doing playing? Now, it may take time. In fact, I believe that most things that look amazing from masters like figure skating or basketball, when you see somebody like LeBron James or back in the day, Michael Jordan, one of my favorite all-time players, uh, when you watch him dribbling the ball and rolling the ball off of his hands and getting that incredible layup that wins the game, that three-point shot, he makes it look easy, doesn't he? Or that singer, an incredible, beautiful voice that just comes out so smooth. And you think, wow, that's sublime. How do they do it? They did it by mastering the mundane, by doing the same thing over and over and getting the right coaching until they got it just right. First, they had to fumble around, then they had to learn what they were doing wrong, then they had to tweak it, and then they had to just continue to tweak it until it started to work, and then they had to continue working it until it became second nature. Now You could drop ship me anywhere in the world. You could blindfold me, put me underwater, and then pull me out and say, Sean, there's an audience of 10,000 people. You got to go talk to them about love. You got to go talk to them about money. You got to go talk to them about whatever. And I'm ready because I did what I'm telling you to do in this program. You have to have empathy for your audience. You have to have empathy and a stream of energy and love for yourself before you speak. Doesn't matter what presentation you're giving. The next thing I do is I really talk, and I talk from a place focusing on connection, because the more you connect to an audience member, the more they will love you. And the more they love you, the longer they'll listen to you. And the longer they listen to you, the more of a fan and friend and follower they will become. The more that you can share with them uh, an authentic space where you don't just tell them what you think they want to hear, you tell them what's really going on in your life and what you are learning and what you've learned and the mistakes you've made. That's when people bond with us. They don't bond with us when we brag about our accomplishments. They bond with us over some of our challenges. And there's a difference between getting up on stage or in front of a room and just communicating, which is an exchange of only information, only data, and connection. Connection is an exchange of emotion and energy and warmth. And if you want to connect, you're going to need to do that. You're going to need to go into that space where you're being real and authentic on stage and you're loving them from the moment you get up there before even you get up there. One of the greatest challenges that sparks fear in public speaking, especially if you want to get paid to do it, your greatest challenge will be the nagging thought, who am I? Who am I to be speaking to this audience? Am I really equipped to own this stage? Am I really equipped to rock this room? You are. You absolutely are. How do I know? Because you're on a journey, my friend. You're on a journey to learn, well, a system that's going to help you get standing ovations and big money to do so. Because I want you to know that competence, so your ability to do something well, builds confidence. The Back in my day, I taught dating for a while. I taught guys about confidence. And if I could just get a guy to feel comfortable to ask a girl out on a date, or I could just get him to feel comfortable leaning in for the kiss, and maybe she didn't even go for it, but he broke through that barrier, just that competence of saying like, whoa, I broke through it. And once he actually had that success, she leaned back in and kissed him or said yes to that date. That little bit of competence, boom, exploded his confidence. You know, my dear friend, Dr. Paul Dombrowski, he talks about confidence is something that we earn through taking acts of courage. So let's talk about that. So what does that mean? That means you're going to have to take acts of courage. You're going to have to do things that are scary. I'm getting scared right now. Something on my computer just says that not everybody can join this webinar because it's full and not everybody is seeing this. So that should be interesting. Okay, we're going to talk later about dealing with disruptions, and that was just a little preview. Anyway, I want you to know that if you're worried about sounding intellectual and being all heady in front of a crowd, drop it. Because your intellect will come out when you share good information. What's more important is being articulate and speaking from your heart. I love the quote by the quarterback Peyton Manning. You know, I've never really been a fan of his because he was never on my favorite team, but he said that we worry, well, worry is a sign of lack of preparation. Worry is a sign of lack of preparation. When we're prepared for something, we know it things might happen. A little thing might pop up on your screen and say, you can't have any more people. Who knows? But I do know this. If you're prepared, you're going to rock. And if you're ready for whatever's thrown at you with a good game plan, you're going to be fine. So let's talk about dazzling. Nothing magical happens on a platform or in front of a crowd until a story is told. Nothing is magical until a story is told. Les Brown taught me that actually, technically, a story should not even be retold from stage. It must be relived. Take my White House story. Maybe you've seen me live speaking, or you've seen me on YouTube where I talk about being chased by the Secret Service. Or maybe the story where I talk about the Halloween moment where I broke my leg and my life purpose came to me. Or the story where I talk about being hit in the head with a shoe that somebody threw at me. All of those, they all grab people's attention and they all dazzle far more than any bits of information, my 7 points to success, any PowerPoint, any element of visual effects. Nothing dazzles a crowd like a story, a good story. So let's talk about what a good story is. Well, I'm a trainer of neuro-linguistic programming, also known as NLP. I'm also an incredible student, follower, and believer in the material of Tony Robbins. Both NLP and Tony Robbins share a lot of commonalities because they both learn from each other. Well, Tony learned from NLP, but anyway, they teach that a good story makes a lot of sense. What am I talking about? I'm talking about not logical sense. I'm talking about our 5 senses, our sense of sight, our sense of sound, taste, smell, and feeling and touch. You know, in NLP, there's this great word called synesthesia, where you mix senses, where you say, do you see what I'm saying? Or taste the rainbow. When you take 2 senses of the body and you merge them together, it really ignites all the synapses and our brain starts to really get on board with the story. You know, I have a doctorate in clinical hypnosis. And I tell you this, well, because that sounds awesome. And I tell it to you truthfully because I know a lot about the unconscious mind. I don't know all about the unconscious mind because after 8 years of studying it in my postgraduate work, I can say I barely scraped the surface of what depth the unconscious mind it really has. But what I've learned from the unconscious mind is that our mind cannot tell the difference between imagination and memory. That when we imagine something, it's as if we're really reliving it again, and our mind begins to wonder, did that happen to us, or am I making that up? The mind can't tell the difference. And that's why I love the term suspension of disbelief. What does that mean? Well, suspension of disbelief, it's why a two-dimensional picture can make you cry or get scared when watching a movie or a TV show. Because you play the game. You enter into the agreement that for the next 60 minutes, 90 minutes, however long you're going to watch, that what you're watching isn't just a 2D picture, it's something that's really happening in that moment. And that's what's amazing about telling a good story. It allows for a suspension of disbelief. The next thing I want to teach you, pausing. Pause. I want you to picture for a moment. I want you to picture in your mind eating your favorite meal. It comes out to you. You start to put it in your mouth and chew it up, swallowing it, tastes so good. Mm. Now that picture, I'm guessing you're not shoveling it in your mouth, are you? Mm-mm. You're savoring it, aren't you? Mm. Mm. Why? Because when something is valuable, when something's important, when there's something we like, we take our time with it, don't we? Now I want you to have another picture in your mind. I want you to picture in your mind going to your favorite restaurant. Except there's a new waiter. You've never seen this waiter before. He comes out, takes your order, you order your favorite meal. He comes back out, he puts it down in front of you, and he then grabs you, straps you to the chair, opens your mouth, puts a device on your jaw that holds your mouth open. He takes a shovel and he starts shoveling it in your mouth. What would happen? You'd start gagging. You would start choking. You might even die. And if you live, do you think you'll ever come back there again? Especially if that's the owner's son and he's always going to be working there? No, you'd be on Yelp the next day. You'd be calling up a lawyer. You'd be furious. And you would hate that restaurant. And you may even eventually hate that meal. Why? Because he shoved it down your throat. And that's what many speakers do. They take valuable information that they've learned. They take details and expertise and stories, and they go through it too quickly. Now, there should be times when you want to go fast. That's what you call a run. I just went on a run talking about that restaurant, but then I stopped, didn't I? And I certainly haven't taken that pace through this whole presentation. Reason being is we're supposed to savor things that are special. When you're nervous, it's natural habit to want to go through it quickly. But you know why? It's because a novice, somebody who's scared, races to finish their presentation because they don't want to be up there in the first place. A master savors every step. Now, don't take it to the extreme and talk real slow. You don't want to do that either. You don't want to overpause it. You want to space it out. And that takes practice. And that takes studying people that have truly mastered it. Now, I want to talk to you about how to make this a profitable business. Speaking is something that there are a lot of people in the industry doing it. Maybe you want to speak about gardening. Maybe your son or daughter died of a disease and you want to talk about how special life is. Maybe you're a doctor and you found a formula to make carbohydrates good for us, and we can take those carbohydrates and turn them into vegetables in our body. Or maybe you figured out how to live on oxygen. I don't know what it is you know about, but I found that speaking, if you want to do it professionally, and that's the part of the program we're in right now, where we talk about how to be profitable, there's 3 elements when entering into that arena that you're going to have to be aware of. One is you got to have possibly a story. It could be a life story. My dear friend Adam Braun has an awesome life story where he talks about how he went from being a busy man in business to realizing that there was more to life than money. And he started an incredible organization called Pencils of Promise. And his story is captivating because he talks about that transition from profit to purpose. And so story is valuable. There's also another element. I said there was 3. So the second element is expertise. I've come across a lot of people that have studied the in-depth details of practically every category. I've met people that are experts on guns. I've met people that are experts on dance, experts on stamp collecting. I've met experts in so many different fields. And I can tell you that an expertise is important, but it's only the second element. The third element behind story and expertise is name recognition. If you're watching this or listening to this right now, and that's not even a word, and you are in a place in your life where you want to start doing professional speaking and making good money, you have a big name or a big following. Maybe you have a blog that 100,000 people follow, or maybe you write an article in a major newspaper. Whatever it may be, you have a following. Your name is recognizable, or what you do is recognizable. That's going to be an advantage to you. We're not going to lie. That's going to help. But remember, I told you to be an incredible lifelong master of this craft, you're going to want a story, an expertise, and a name recognition. I started off with only a story. I talked about what it's like to have a disability. With time, I realized that I needed to have an expertise, something that uh, I was an expert on. And then having that story, getting good at telling that story, having the expertise to teach something with that story, those two together allowed enough people to be talking about me. I got onto enough things, into books, into television, onto YouTube, doing silly dance moves. Yeah, you know it. So when all those three things combined, my name recognition started getting me bookings. My expertise got me bookings. My story got me bookings. Where are you right now? And how are you going to take one of those three, if not all three, and develop a business around it? I'm going to give you some details around money. And we're scared to talk about money because in our society, it doesn't matter what country you're listening or watching this that you're in right now. Money brings up some weird things in people. But I'm going to tell you that I don't believe that money changes us. That's what a lot of people think. I think money reveals things in us. And so I want you to get excited about charging for your story, your expertise, and or your name recognition. And speaker fees range from zero to $250,000 for an hour talk. And I once read that President Clinton charged $1 million for an hour presentation. Now the $250,000 to the $1 million mark, that's for like US presidents, or I mean, if you could pull that off, by all means, awesome. Maybe that Gangnam Style or Justin Bieber can do it, but you and I, we're not going to get there most likely. We're going to be in a different range. Your range depends on your industry that you want to start speaking to. Now, eventually, you can speak to many industries, but do not make the mistake that I did for years of thinking, I'm going to speak to everybody. And you think you're going to speak to everybody, no one wants to listen to you. You got to niche yourself. You got to figure out what industry are you going to go after. Here are the industries that we're going to talk about. I can't go into depth on all of them, but I'm definitely going to do that in our 10-person apprenticeship program, but I'm going to take a couple of them. So here they are. Education industry. That's talking about elementary schools, high schools, colleges, um, anything to do with education, students. Associations. That's things like a cancer association, the Association of Diabetes, or the National Rifle Association, whatever it may be. You speak to associations. Conferences. Maybe you speak at different conventions and conferences where people get together. Government associations like the the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, or the DOT, the Department of Transportation. You speak to government groups. Special events. Maybe you speak at an opening of a grand new building in your town. A public seminar, that's where there are ticket prices where people pay individually to come. It's not necessarily a keynote. Those are the different areas of speaking. And there may be some extra ones that I didn't get to mention, but those are the main ones. And as far as speaking goes, well, speakers oftentimes waive their fee in exchange for selling products in the back of the room. You can do that. I'm not necessarily the best expert on that. I've done it at times. I've been really good at charging high dollars for incredible content and delivery in a period of time, such as an hour. Some people waive their speaking fee in lieu of positioning themselves. They position themselves as an expert, and so therefore they want to get to a bigger stage. So those are the different ways. Now I want to talk to you about my speaking fees. They started at $75. They went up to $250, then to $500, $1,500, $2,500, $5,000, $7,500, $10,000. They've gone up to $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. Now, you might say, wow, Sean, how long did that take you? It took me 17 years to be able to have a company hand me a check for a large amount to say, rock our audience's socks off. Now, I can tell you there were lots of things that I had to do in order to get there. It was a long, slow curve up. There are many years that I plateaued at $500. There are many years that I plateaued at $2,500, $5,000. But in the last 3 years, I can tell you that it really skyrocketed. And it's because of the things that I learned. You know, there's many ways that you can get into speaking. You can work with bureaus. You can work with doing direct marketing on and offline. You can work with agents. You can hire salespeople. You can work indirectly doing long game things like coming out with a book that gets you recognition. You can have a blog that helps you get in front of people that want to hire you. You can get a television show. You could do something that's media worthy. Maybe you go for a national record or a Guinness Book World Record. You could get into something like showcasing, which is you pay to get in front of a group. I've done that as well. But the thing I want to talk to you about for the next 2 minutes is I want to talk to you about networking to building your business because it's the greatest thing that I've done to really build my business. I learned about this specific kind of networking from one of my mentors, Mark LeBlanc. He wrote an amazing little self-help, a little self-published book that you should check out called Grow Your Business. It might be Grow or Growing Your Business. It's been a while since I read it. Good time to read it again, I guess. So anyway, he talks about advocate marketing. And advocate marketing is where you find people in your life that are your greatest cheerleaders, that are also willing to mentor you. And you bring them tremendous value. You either pay them to learn from them, or you find out what's very important to them. Is there somebody they want to meet that you have to go out and position everything so that that person meets them? Is it something as simple as sending them their favorite kind of wine or sending them gifts of their favorite books that you recommend they read? Whatever it is, you have to get on this person's radar. And you have to have a circle of people that I call the advocate marketing system. Because I can tell you, one incredible advocate is worth more than any other marketing technique. I have individuals like Garrett Gunderson. Um, he's an incredible speaker that talks about wealth and how to create true wealth. I have incredible presenters that I've learned from. I've learned about advocate marketing and shared with people like Joe Polish. And I have a list of 21 others that I reach out to and I bring value to them. And in exchange, they've brought me value. They've introduced me to people. Because I can tell you, if you're able to do just one talk and get it on video and then befriend somebody that's an industry leader and really catch their eye with that video, they could introduce you to people that get you right on stage to things that could have taken you 10 years to do on your own. Look, I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on sending out little postcards and email campaigns and blogging and doing all of this. But nothing has been as valuable as getting a group of 21 advocates who introduced me to event coordinators and planners. And that's probably the greatest thing that I could teach you about how to profit in the business of speaking. Now, keep in mind, that's just what I could teach you in this short period of time. I want to talk to you now about my apprenticeship program. because, well, I'm leaving speaking. I've announced this already that I'm retiring, and my last presentation will take place on 2016. And you might think, Sean, that's 3 years from now. You'll learn in speaking that you need to give lead time because you get bookings in advance. I also wanted to be able to transition responsibly into a new career. That's why I don't tell people to quit their day job. If you want to become a speaker, make sure that you transition appropriately into that new position. So I've decided that I want to teach people about how to get standing ovations. And I've created something called the Standing Ovation System. It's going to be a group of 10 people, and I'm going to pass the baton on to them on how to get really amazing at content delivery, something that I call my CM cubed: content, marketing, mindset, mechanics. Because when you get good at those four things: content delivery, the marketing of business, the mindset of a speaker, the mechanics, you can truly rock an audience and charge big money. So, in this 10-person apprenticeship program, here's how it's going to work: it's going to take place over a period of 90 days. It's going to be a virtual training where I teach people online in 90-minute sessions every other week. And in this, we will be doing a video recording where everybody can see each other and will be able to interact with each other. There will be 6 lessons, since there will be 6 stages and 6 sessions. It's going to happen every other week until we are done. The final session, it's going to take place in person here in Phoenix, Arizona, where I live, and we're going to have the group present a keynote presentation, a 15-minute talk, where they use everything they learned in my CM cubed style so that they truly rock an audience and hopefully get a standing ovation. And if not, get some of the best feedback from people who've learned this material from me. So let's look at breaking it down again. It's going to be 10 people. It's going to be for over a period of 3 months. It's going to be every other week for 90 minutes. And it's going to be me teaching on video my CM cubed, how to get incredible content. So let's talk about the content. Why is that important? Because you need to find your voice. You need to create your content so that it's interesting and valuable and not just dribble. You need to know how to pick and polish the right stories, how to pace your activities, and create perfect metaphors that really make a difference for people. In that second session, you're going to learn about marketing. You're going to learn about the business of speaking. I'm going to share with you my contracts and how I put together my contracts and give you the boilerplate so that you can do the same. I'm going to talk to you about things like insurance. What do you do if somebody trips and falls in your audience? I'm going to talk to you about how to do all those other elements of marketing that we talked about, that I only shared the networking with the advocates. I'm going to be talking to you in more detail about what bureaus I've worked with and how to deal with bureaus and salespeople and agents. I'm going to talk to you about showcases, what showcases do for you and what they don't do for you. Then the next one, we're going to be talking about the mindset. The next session, we're going to talk about how to handle disruptions when things go wrong. We're going to talk about how an incredible speaker handles their mind on stage. I'm going to teach you how to set the frame in advance to your speech, during your speech, and after your presentation. I'm going to talk to you about how to handle snafus, those technical difficulties, things that could go wrong in a contract, and what would make a speech fall through and not make the money. Trust me, that's not fun. I'm going to talk to you about physically how to prepare your body and be filled with energy on stage. I'm going to talk to you about how in 17 years of speaking, I've only missed one speech, and what I did to make sure that I never missed another speech from that day forward. In the entire career, I've learned how to step into this mindset. I'm also going to be talking about in the next session the mechanics of professional speaking and public speaking, the vocal tonality. There's certain things I'm doing with my voice, certain statistics that have followed speaking, and how to pace yourself. I'm going to be talking to you about gesturing, what gestures work, what don't, and what specific gestures you should be using to make certain points. We're going to be going into a lot more depth about pause and really how many pauses you should be doing. I'm going to be talking to you about how to build rapport through developing trust with your audience and gaining respect from them. I'm going to be talking about, in that session of mechanics, navigating real-time audience nonverbal feedback. So how can you tell if you're really bombing versus you're just being nervous? And how to change up your stories or your pacing or your timing so that you can handle real-time challenges with an audience. In the 5th session, we're going to go into misconceptions, what the speaking industry is really like, the hype, the rumors, and the truth. And in our final session, I call it the mastery. And in the mastery, we're going to spend a half day together in person, where you're each going to deliver a 15-minute talk. And it's going to be amazing because we're going to give you feedback on that talk. And I'm going to sit there and take incredibly in-depth notes about what you can do to be a better presenter. And I'm going to remind you what you learned and maybe forgot. And I'm going to remind you what you learned and praise you for it. Also, if you sign up for this 10-person apprenticeship program, I'm going to give you a bonus session. You and me for 30 minutes, one-on-one, we're going to get on the phone. We're going to talk about what you really want. What is your goal for speaking? Is it to make money, to raise money for a cause? Is it to just be a better salesman for your company? Is it to be just a better, effective leader? You're going to tell me what it is. I'm going to help to understand your motivation for doing this and help you craft the program so that it really runs smoothly for you. All of the courses are going to be videotaped, so if you can't attend any one of them, you can just review it in our private member section of our website. So you're probably wondering, Sean, what's this going to cost? Well, I can tell you that I've spent a lot of money learning what I'm going to share. And when I was 17, 18, 19, I put together all the money that I could to buy books and tapes and programs and coaching. And I spent, well, probably over $100,000 on my education, if not more. What I want to do is I want to teach you this for $2,000 a month for 3 months. So $2,000 a month for 3 months, you're going to be able to be in this program. And if you're worried about how that's going to happen to you financially, I can tell you that what's great about speaking is once I teach you how to get speeches, you're going to be able to pay that back really quickly out of your pocket. So this is something that's going to really work for you. And if you made it this far and you believe in me, you maybe read my books or watched my videos, and you say, Sean, I really want in. I want to be one of the 10. I know I'm not going to let this go by one more moment without signing up. I'm going to tell you, relax. Thank you for believing me. And because you believe in me and you're willing to act now, I'm going to give you a $2,000 discount, a Believe in Me bonus. So if you sign up within the next 2 hours, I'll let you go through the program for just $4,000 total. $4,000 for those 3 months. $4,000 for everything that I explained. You can learn how to truly be a master of professional speaking, how to be a master of commanding a stage, commanding a crowd, and you're going to be able to be in an elite group that's going to learn some of my best stuff. But you got to sign up within the next 2 hours. Now, how do I do that, Sean? You're going to go to the internet, you're going to open up a web browser, and you're going to type in standingovationsystem.com. That's standingovationsystem.com. And if for some reason it takes a while or it doesn't load, you can also try Sean Stephenson, that's S-E-A-N, Stephenson, S-T-E-P-H-E-N-S-O-N.com SOS. Either one will take you to the page where you can sign up to get into that group of 10 people. Now, I'm sorry if you sign up and it doesn't happen for you because it's already closed out. And I'm here to tell you that this is something that I want to work on in a small group. I think it's important that you get my personal attention, and I want to reward those that take that leap of faith. So if you don't sign up within the next 2 hours from right now from that website, the price is going to go up to $6,000. And it will remain at $6,000 until we fill it up. You know, I'm excited to start this journey in my life of teaching professional speaking and the art of presenting and making a business out of it. Standing ovations are something that I've really honed and mastered the craft of. If you really want to be able to get up in front of a crowd and have strength in your words and be able to deliver whatever it is that's important to you most, whatever moves you most, I know I can help you. I know that I can make you as good as me, better, because I can help you shave the learning curve. You don't have to bump your head. You don't have to fall down and make mistakes as often as I have. You can ramp yourself up quickly. So you're going to go to standingovationsystem.com or SeanStephenson.com/SOS. You're going to sign up for this apprenticeship. You're going to join me on this 90-day journey. The first journey starts in April, May, June. So we're going to start in April, then May, and then the last of it will finish in June. I am ready to work with you. I am completely humbled to have you on this program because maybe you're listening right now and you're thinking, oh, I can't afford that right now, Sean. And you think, can he help me with payments or can I get a scholarship? Look, when I was 20 years old, I got on an airplane and I scraped together the money and I flew to Colorado and I paid a man $5,000. $5,000 back when I was 20. I'm now 33, so 13 years ago, to learn about speaking, learn about business and branding and marketing. And I had everything in that 5 grand, but it paid off. And it paid off quickly because I learned how to scale up quickly and get money in my pocket. Because I can tell you that inside of you is a gold mine. If you have a story or an expertise or name recognition or a following, I'm going to teach you how to mine that into gold. Because it'll be fun the first day you get a check for speaking, something you've done maybe your whole life for free. Somebody goes, here you go, here's 500 bucks, 1,000 bucks, 10,000 bucks. I don't know. I'm not going to put a limit on what you can make. I'm excited. Maybe you'll make more than I, because maybe you'll put all this together quickly and you'll figure something out that really gives you a huge advantage. I'm excited for that. My dear friend Christian Michelson said, it's not the job of a teacher to make the students as good as him. It's the job of the teacher to make them better than him. I want to make you better than me. Thank you for being on this program. Thank you for believing in me. And thank you for caring enough about your own knowledge and education to put this time in. Go ahead, go to standingovationsystem.com and sign up if this is something for you. Thanks so much for watching.